As the night settles around you, imagine a world bathed in the golden glow of ancient sunlight, where marble columns gleam against azure skies, and the clash of bronze echoes across rugged hills. Tonight, we journey to a time when two great civilizations, Rome and Greece, stood at the crossroads of destiny. This is a story not just of conquest, but of ambition, pride, and the slow, inexorable turning of history's wheel. It's a tale woven from the threads of human triumph and tragedy, perfect for drifting into dreams as the world fades away. Picture the Greece of legend, a land of philosophers and poets, where city-states like Athens and Sparta carved their names into eternity. Its people were fierce, their culture radiant, their gods ever watchful atop Mount Olympus. Yet across the sea, a new power was rising, a city built on 7 hills, hardened by war and driven by a relentless hunger for dominion. Rome, with its disciplined legions and unyielding will, cast its gaze eastward, toward the glittering prize of Greece. How did this young republic, born in the shadow of Etruscan kings, come to subdue the cradle of Western civilization? How did Rome's iron resolve bend the proud neck of Greece? This story unfolds over centuries, not in a single clash of swords, but through a delicate dance of diplomacy, betrayal, and bloodshed. It's a history that whispers of heroes like Pyrrhus, whose victories bled him dry, and kings like Philip V, whose dreams of empire crumbled under Roman boots. It's a saga of cities razed and rebuilt, of alliances forged and broken, and of a culture so luminous that even its conquerors fell under its spell. As you listen, let the weight of the day slip away, and allow the past to cradle you in its arms. This is not a tale to jolt you awake, but one to guide you gently toward rest. So close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the ancient world unfold before you. Hello, this is Sherry, and welcome to my channel. So let's begin. As the stars begin to pierce the velvet sky, let us drift back to a time when the world was young, and two civilizations, like twin flames, burned brightly on the shores of the Mediterranean. Rome and Greece, though neighbors across a narrow sea, were as different as the rugged hills of Latium and the sun-dappled groves of Attica. To understand how Rome came to conquer Greece, we must first walk the paths of their origins, tracing the roots of their ambitions and the seeds of their inevitable clash. Picture a world where gods still whispered in mortal ears, where city-states gleamed like jewels, and where a village on 7 hills dreamed of empire. Let us begin with Rome, a city born in the mists of legend. Nestled along the banks of the Tiber River, Rome was said to have been founded by Romulus, a child of Mars, raised by a she-wolf's fierce love. By the 4th century BCE, this humble settlement had shed its monarchic past, casting off the Etruscan kings who once ruled it. In their place rose a republic, a fragile yet tenacious system where consuls, senators, and citizens wrestled for power. Rome was not a place of philosophers or poets, not yet. Its people were farmers and warriors, their hands calloused from plow and sword. Their gods demanded sacrifice, their laws demanded discipline, and their hearts demanded glory. The Roman Republic was a crucible, forging a people who valued order above all, order in their legions, order in their politics, order in their conquests. To the east, across the Ionian Sea, lay Greece, a land as fragmented as it was brilliant. Unlike Rome's singular focus, Greece was a mosaic of city-states, each a world unto itself. Athens, with its marble temples and restless thinkers, birthed democracy and philosophy. Sparta, austere and unyielding, trained warriors whose very name struck fear. Thebes, Corinth, Argos, each city-state was a star in a constellation, bound by language and culture, but divided by pride. In the shadow of Mount Olympus, where Zeus and Athena held court, the Greeks wove tales of heroes like Achilles and Odysseus, their stories etched into pottery and song. Yet Greece was no monolith. Its city-states quarreled, their alliances as fleeting as summer storms. The Persian Wars of the 5th century BCE had united them briefly, but by the time Rome's gaze turned eastward, Greece was a land of fading unity, its golden age dimming like a candle in the wind. Rome's early centuries were a struggle for survival. Surrounded by hostile tribes, Etruscans to the north, Samnites to the south, Rome learned war as a second language. Its legions, disciplined and adaptable, were not the product of wealth or sophistication, but of necessity. The Roman soldier, clad in simple bronze, fought not for glory alone but for the survival of his city. By the 4th century BCE, Rome had subdued its neighbors, forging a patchwork of alliances and conquests across central Italy. Its roads, straight as an arrow's flight, began to stretch across the peninsula, carrying merchants, soldiers, and dreams of something greater. The Romans were not yet an empire, but the seeds were sown, watered by ambition and fertilized by victory. Greece, meanwhile, was a land of contrasts. Its philosophers, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, sought truth in the stars and the soul, while its warriors clashed in phalanxes, their spears gleaming under the sun. The Peloponnesian War, 430–1404 BCE, had bled Greece dry, pitting Athens against Sparta in a struggle that left both weakened. By the time Rome was consolidating its power, Greece had fallen under the shadow of Macedon, a northern kingdom whose king, Philip II, dreamed of uniting the fractious city-states. His son, Alexander the Great, would carry that dream to the ends of the earth, forging an empire that stretched from Greece to India. But Alexander's death in 323 BCE left his empire shattered, and Greece once more became a battleground for his successors, the Diadochi. These wars of succession, fought with Macedonian phalanxes and Greek cunning, left the city-states exhausted, their autonomy a fragile illusion. As Rome grew, its merchants began to sail beyond Italy's shores. The ports of southern Italy, places like Tarentum and Syracuse, were Greek colonies, part of a network called Magna Graecia, Greater Greece. These cities were wealthy, their markets brimming with olive oil, wine, and ideas. To a Roman trader, stepping onto the docks of Tarentum was like entering another world. Temples adorned with statues of Apollo, theaters ringing with the verses of Sophocles, and philosophers debating beneath shady porticos. The Greeks of Magna Graecia were proud, their culture a beacon that both dazzled and intimidated their Roman neighbors. Yet, beneath the surface, these colonies were vulnerable, caught between Rome's growing power and the ambitions of distant Greek kings. The first whispers of contact between Rome and Greece were not of war, but of trade and curiosity. Roman envoys visited Greek cities, marveling at their art and architecture. Greek tutors, brought to Rome as captives or hired scholars, began to teach the sons of senators about Homer and geometry. But this was no love story. Rome's admiration for Greece was tinged with envy, and Greece's pride carried the weight of condescension. The Romans were seen as barbarians, crude in speech and manner, while the Greeks were viewed as decadent, their disunity a fatal flaw. As the 3rd century BCE dawned, these two worlds stood on the brink of collision, their paths converging like rivers to the sea. Imagine a Roman farmer standing on a hill overlooking the Tiber, his eyes fixed on the horizon. He knows little of Greece, but he has heard tales of its wonders, cities that rival the gods' own palaces, warriors who fight like lions. Across the sea, a Greek merchant in Athens gazes west, his mind filled with rumors of a city that binds its enemies with treaties and its soldiers with iron discipline. Neither knows it yet, but their worlds are about to meet, not as friends, but as rivals in a struggle that will reshape the Mediterranean. The first sparks of this conflict are already glowing, faint but undeniable, in the Greek cities of southern Italy, where a king named Pyrrhus will soon raise his banner against Rome. What happens when a rising power meets a fading one? Can Greece's brilliance withstand Rome's relentless march? As the night deepens, let us follow this story, where ambition and destiny collide, and the fate of two worlds hangs in the balance. As the moonlight spills over the quiet hills of southern Italy, let us transport ourselves to a time when the clash of bronze and the cries of warriors stirred the air. It is the early 3rd century BCE, and the Mediterranean world is a tapestry of ambition and rivalry. Rome, still a young republic, has begun to stretch its influence across the Italian peninsula, its legions binding tribes and cities into a web of alliances and conquests. Across the sea, Greece's star burns bright but fractured, its city-states caught in the fading glow of their golden age. Here, in the Greek colonies of southern Italy, known as Magna Graecia, the first true test of Rome's mettle against the Greek world begins. A king named Pyrrhus, bold and battle-hardened, casts a long shadow over this collision, his name destined to echo through history, not for victory, but for the bitter cost of it. Picture the city of Tarentum, its whitewashed walls gleaming against the turquoise waters of the Ionian Sea. Tarentum is a jewel of Magna Graecia, a Greek colony founded centuries earlier by settlers from Sparta. Its people are proud, their agora bustling with merchants trading amphorae of wine and olive oil, their theaters alive with the tragedies of Euripides. But Tarentum is not alone. Cities like Syracuse, Croton, and Rhegium dot the southern coast, each a beacon of Greek culture, yet fiercely independent, their loyalties shifting like the tides. These colonies, though distant from mainland Greece, are tied to it by blood and tradition, their temples dedicated to Apollo and Athena, their philosophers debating the nature of the cosmos. Yet their wealth and disunity make them vulnerable, caught between the rising power of Rome and the ambitions of distant kings. By 280 BCE, Rome's shadow looms large. The Republic has subdued much of central Italy, its legions a disciplined machine, its roads stitching together a growing dominion. The Greek cities of Magna Graecia watch warily as Roman envoys and merchants appear in their markets, their Latin speech a stark contrast to the melodic Greek tongue. Tarentum, in particular, bristles at Rome's encroachment. A minor incident, a Roman fleet anchoring too close to Tarentine waters, ignites tensions. The Tarentines, proud and defiant, sink the ships and expel Rome's diplomats, an act of defiance that sends ripples across the Mediterranean. But they know they cannot stand alone against Rome's growing might. In their desperation, they turn to a distant ally, Pyrrhus, king of Epirus, a rugged kingdom in northwestern Greece. Pyrrhus is no ordinary ruler. A descendant of Achilles, or so he claims, he is a warrior king in the mold of Alexander the Great, whose legacy still haunts the Greek world. Epirus, though small, is a land of fierce tribes and towering mountains, its people as unyielding as the stone they carve their homes from. Pyrrhus has already fought campaigns in Greece and Macedon, his ambition a blazing fire that consumes all caution. When Tarentum's plea reaches him, he sees not just a call for aid, but an opportunity to carve out an empire in the West. With his army of spearmen, cavalry, and war elephants, beasts unknown to the Romans, he sets sail for Italy, his heart set on glory. In 280 BCE, Pyrrhus lands at Tarentum with 25,000 men and 20 elephants, their trumpeting calls echoing through the city's streets. The Tarentines greet him as a savior, but his presence is a double-edged sword. Pyrrhus is a general of genius, his tactics honed in the wars of Alexander's successors, but he is also a king who demands obedience. He imposes discipline on the pleasure-loving Tarentines, closing theaters and training citizens for war. The Greek cities of Magna Graecia, though reluctant, rally to his banner, their hoplites joining his Macedonian-style phalanx. Across the peninsula, Rome prepares for a foe unlike any it has faced. The legions, used to fighting hill tribes and Samnite warriors, now confront a professional army led by a man schooled in the art of Hellenistic warfare. The first clash comes at Heraclea in 280 BCE. Imagine the scene, a dusty plain where the Roman legions, clad in chainmail and wielding short swords, face Pyrrhus' phalanx, a bristling wall of spears. The Romans fight with grim determination, their maniples, flexible units of infantry adapting to the terrain. But Pyrrhus unleashes his elephants, their massive forms charging through Roman ranks, sowing panic. The battle is fierce, the ground stained red by dusk. Pyrrhus emerges victorious, but at a staggering cost. Thousands of his best soldiers lie dead, their bodies mingling with the fallen Romans. Another such victory, he is said to have remarked, and we are undone. The term Pyrrhic victory is born here, a triumph so costly it feels like defeat. Undeterred, Pyrrhus presses on, marching north toward Rome itself. In 279 BCE, at Asculum, he faces the legions again. The battle is even bloodier, the Romans learning from their earlier defeat, their formations holding firm against the phalanx. Pyrrhus' elephants once more tip the scales, but his army is bled dry, its core of veteran troops dwindling. The Romans, though defeated, retreat in good order, their resolve unbroken. Pyrrhus, gazing over the battlefield, sees not conquest but a grim truth. Rome's strength lies not in its numbers, but in its stubborn refusal to yield. His victories have weakened him more than his enemy. As Pyrrhus lingers in Italy, his ambitions falter. The Greek cities, though grateful, chafe under his rule, their independence a memory. Rome, meanwhile, tightens its grip on its allies, its legions swelling with new recruits. Pyrrhus, drawn into conflicts in Sicily against Carthage, finds his resources stretched thin. By 275 BCE, at the Battle of Beneventum, the Romans turn the tide. Learning to counter the elephants with fire and javelins, they drive Pyrrhus from the field. Exhausted and depleted, he sails back to Epirus, leaving Tarentum to face Rome's wrath alone. The Greek cities of Magna Graecia, one by one, fall under Roman control, their walls no match for the Republic's relentless advance. Stand now on the shores of Tarentum, the sea stretching endlessly before you. The city's theaters are silent, its people bowing to a new master. Pyrrhus' shadow fades, but his wars have changed the Mediterranean. Rome, once a curiosity to the Greek world, has proven its strength, its legions a force that even a king of Alexander's lineage could not break. Yet across the sea, the kingdoms of Greece stir, their eyes turning west. Macedon, under a new king, dreams of empire, and the city-states whisper of freedom. Can Greece's might withstand Rome's resilience? As the night wraps you in its embrace, let us follow this story deeper, where greater wars and greater dreams await. As the night deepens and the world grows still, imagine standing on the cliffs of southern Italy, where the Ionian Sea whispers secrets of a bygone age. Below, the city of Tarentum glows softly, its white walls reflecting the moonlight, its harbors alive with ships bearing the wealth of the Mediterranean. This is Magna Graecia, Greater Greece, a constellation of Greek colonies that have flourished for centuries along Italy's southern shores. These cities, Tarentum, Syracuse, Croton, Rhegium, are beacons of Hellenic culture, their temples and theaters rivaling those of Athens or Corinth. Yet, as the 3rd century BCE unfolds, they stand on the edge of a precipice, caught between the fading glory of Pyrrhus' ambitions and the relentless rise of Rome. Tonight, let us wander these ancient streets, where pride and vulnerability intertwine, and the first threads of Rome's conquest of the Greek world are woven. Magna Graecia was born in the 8th century BCE, when Greek adventurers, driven by trade and overpopulation, sailed west to plant their cities on foreign soil. These were not mere outposts, but thriving centers of Greek civilization. Picture Croton, where the philosopher Pythagoras taught his followers to seek harmony in numbers, their voices mingling with the hum of cicadas. Envision Syracuse, its harbors teeming with triremes, its tyrant kings ruling with a blend of cunning and splendor. Tarentum, wealthiest of them all, was a Spartan colony, its citizens famed for their purple-dyed cloth, a hue so rich it rivaled the sunset. These cities were bound by their Greek heritage, language, gods, and traditions, but they were fiercely independent, their rivalries as sharp as their spears. They traded with Carthage, Egypt, and mainland Greece, their markets a kaleidoscope of cultures, yet they stood apart, a world unto themselves. By the time Pyrrhus sailed away in 275 BCE, his defeats at Rome's hands left Magna Graecia exposed. His war elephants and Macedonian phalanxes had failed to break the Roman Republic, and the Greek cities, once his allies, now faced a grim reality. Rome's legions, disciplined and inexhaustible, were no longer a distant threat, but a shadow creeping closer. The Romans had already subdued much of central Italy, their alliances with tribes like the Samnites and Lucanians forming a noose around the south. Yet the cities of Magna Graecia were not mere pawns. They were wealthy, fortified, and proud, their citizens believing themselves heirs to the glory of Pericles and Alexander. To them, Rome was a barbarian upstart, its Latin tongue crude, its culture a pale imitation of their own. Tarentum, the heart of Magna Graecia, stood as a symbol of this pride. Its walls, built of gleaming limestone, stretched along the coast, guarding a city of 100,000 souls. Its agora buzzed with merchants and philosophers, while its theater hosted dramas that echoed the tragedies of Sophocles. But Tarentum's wealth bred complacency. Its citizens, fond of luxury, preferred feasting to fighting, their militia no match for Rome's legions. When Pyrrhus departed, Tarentum's leaders hesitated, torn between seeking peace with Rome and clinging to their independence. Other cities faced similar dilemmas. Syracuse, under its tyrant Hiero II, balanced alliances with Carthage and Rome, its harbors a crossroads of power. Croton, once a center of learning, had waned, its walls crumbling under neglect. Rhegium, perched on the toe of Italy, eyed Rome warily, its loyalty wavering. Rome, meanwhile, moved with calculated precision. The Republic's strength lay not in its wealth, but in its system. Its legions were drawn from a citizenry bound by duty, its allies tied by treaties that offered protection in exchange for loyalty. After Pyrrhus' retreat, Rome turned its gaze to Magna Graecia, seeing not just cities, but stepping stones to greater power. The Romans were not blind to Greek culture. They admired its art, its literature, its philosophy, but admiration did not soften their ambition. To Rome, Magna Graecia was a prize, its wealth and strategic ports a gateway to the Mediterranean. The Republic's envoys, cloaked in simple togas, began to visit these cities, offering terms of alliance that sounded like friendship but carried the weight of submission. The fall of Tarentum set the tone. In 272 BCE, after Pyrrhus' departure, Rome laid siege to the city. Imagine the scene. Roman legions encamped outside the walls, their tents a sea of canvas, their siege engines creaking under the sun. Inside, Tarentine citizens, once so confident, faced dwindling supplies and the specter of defeat. The city's leaders, divided between resistance and surrender, sent desperate pleas to mainland Greece, but no aid came. When Tarentum's gates finally opened, it was not to a bloodbath but to a Roman garrison. The city retained its Greek character, but its freedom was a memory, its fate now tied to Rome's will. One by one, other cities followed. Rhegium fell after a betrayal by its own garrison, while Croton, weakened by years of decline, submitted without a fight. Syracuse, however, proved more resilient. Under Hiero II, it navigated the treacherous waters of Mediterranean politics. Hiero, a shrewd ruler, saw Rome's rise and chose alliance over defiance, securing Syracuse's autonomy for a time. But even Syracuse could not escape the tide. The city's wealth and strategic position made it a target, and as Rome's power grew, so did its appetite. The Greek cities of Magna Graecia, once a bridge between Greece and the West, became a battleground where Rome honed its imperial ambitions. Their fall was not just a loss of independence, but a signal to the Greek world across the sea. Rome was no longer a curiosity, but a force to be reckoned with. As these cities bowed to Rome, their culture began to seep into the conqueror's veins. Greek tutors filled Roman households, teaching the sons of senators about Homer and Euclid. Greek statues adorned Roman forums, and Greek plays were performed in Latin translations. Yet this cultural embrace was a double-edged sword. The Greeks of Magna Graecia, though subdued, planted seeds of Hellenic influence that would one day transform Rome itself. But for now, the cities of southern Italy lay under Roman control, their harbors and markets feeding the Republic's growing power. Stand now in the silent agora of Tarentum, where the statues of Apollo cast long shadows. The city is Roman now, its people learning to live under a new order. Across the sea, the kingdoms of Greece, Macedon, Seleucid Syria stir with unease. The fall of Magna Graecia is a warning, a whisper of Rome's ambition. Far to the north, a Macedonian king, Philip V, dreams of reviving Alexander's empire, his eyes turning to the city-states of Greece. Will he heed the lessons of Pyrrhus' failure, or will he, too, challenge Rome's rising star? As the night cradles you, let us drift across the sea, where new ambitions and new conflicts await, and the fate of Greece hangs in the balance. As the night wraps you in its gentle embrace, let us sail across the Ionian Sea, leaving the subdued cities of Magna Graecia behind. The air grows cooler, the horizon darkens, and we find ourselves in the rugged heart of Greece, where the mountains of Macedon rise like sentinels under a starlit sky. Here, in the early 3rd century BCE, a new chapter in the story of Rome and Greece begins to unfold. Macedon, a kingdom forged in the fires of conquest, dreams of reviving the glory of Alexander the Great. Its king, Philip V, is a man of ambition, his eyes fixed on the fractured city-states of Greece and beyond. Yet, as his gaze turns south, Rome's shadow looms ever closer, its legions fresh from their triumph in Italy. Tonight, let us walk the halls of Pella, Macedon's capital, and uncover the dreams and dangers that set the stage for a clash that will reshape the ancient world. Macedon, in 221 BCE, is a land of stark contrasts. Its plains are fertile, its mountains rich with timber and silver, yet its true strength lies in its people, warriors trained in the disciplined ranks of the phalanx, a formation that once carried Alexander to the ends of the earth. Pella, the kingdom's heart, is a city of broad streets and grand palaces, its walls adorned with mosaics of lions and gods. Here, Philip V, a young king barely in his 20s, ascends the throne, inheriting a legacy as heavy as the crown he wears. Alexander's empire, fragmented after his death in 323 BCE, has left Macedon surrounded by rivals. The Seleucid Empire to the east, the Ptolemies in Egypt, and the restless Greek city-states to the south. Philip, schooled in war and diplomacy, burns with a vision to unite Greece under his rule, to restore the dominion that once stretched to India. The Greece Philip seeks to master is a shadow of its former self. The city-states, Athens, Sparta, Thebes, still cling to their pride, their temples and oracles as radiant as ever. Athens, though no longer the naval power of the 5th century, remains a beacon of philosophy and art, its agora alive with the voices of rhetoricians. Sparta, austere and defiant, trains its warriors in the old ways, but its numbers dwindle. Thebes, once a rival to both, lies humbled, its walls a memory after Alexander's destruction. These cities, bound by a shared Hellenic culture, are divided by ancient grudges and rivalries. The Peloponnesian War and the wars of Alexander's successors have left them weakened, their alliances fragile as autumn leaves. Smaller leagues, like the Achaean and Aetolian, have risen, binding cities together for protection, but even these are riven by mistrust. Philip V sees opportunity in this disunity. His father, Antigonus III, had strengthened Macedon, securing its borders and rebuilding its army. Philip, charismatic and cunning, inherits a phalanx of 20,000 men, armed with the sarissa, a spear twice the length of a man, capable of piercing any shield. His cavalry, drawn from Macedon's nobility, ride with the skill of Alexander's companions. Yet, Philip is no mere warrior. He is a diplomat, weaving alliances with cities like Corinth and Argos, promising protection in exchange for loyalty. His court at Pella buzzes with Greek intellectuals, poets praising his name, philosophers debating his policies. To the Greeks, Philip is both a savior and a threat, a king who could unite them or enslave them. By 217 BCE, Philip's ambitions take shape. He seeks to dominate the Aegean, controlling its trade routes and ports. The Greek city-states, wary of his growing power, are caught in a delicate dance. Athens, ever jealous of its freedom, resists his overtures, while smaller cities, fearing both Macedon and their neighbors, waver. The Aetolian League, a coalition of central Greek states, openly defies Philip, their raiders harassing his borders. Meanwhile, across the sea, Rome watches with growing interest. The Republic, fresh from its victory over Carthage in the First Punic War 264–241 BCE, has secured Sicily, including the Greek city of Syracuse. The fall of Magna Graecia has given Rome a foothold in the Greek world, its envoys now regular visitors to Athens and Corinth. To Philip, Rome is a distant curiosity, a barbarian state that defeated Pyrrhus but poses no immediate threat. To Rome, Philip is a name whispered in dispatches, a king whose ambitions could disrupt the balance of the Mediterranean. Philip's first moves are cautious but bold. He campaigns in the Peloponnese, securing allies like Messene and weakening the Achaean League, a rival power bloc led by the strategist Aratus of Sicyon. He sails against the Aetolians, capturing their strongholds and earning the grudging respect of his enemies. His navy, though small, begins to challenge Rhodes, a maritime power allied with Athens. These victories, though limited, send a message. Macedon is rising, and Greece must choose between submission and resistance. But Philip's dreams are not without cost. His campaigns strain Macedon's resources, and his heavy-handed tactics alienate as many cities as they win. Athens, in particular, grows alarmed, its orators railing against the Macedonian yoke. As Philip tightens his grip, the Greek city-states look west for salvation. Rome, though preoccupied with Carthage in the Second Punic War, 218–201 BCE, is not blind to Greece's plight. Roman merchants, trading in Corinth and Epidamnus, bring tales of Philip's aggression. The Republic, ever pragmatic, sees opportunity in Greece's division. An alliance with the enemies of Macedon could secure Rome's eastern flank and open new markets. In 215 BCE, Philip makes a fateful decision. He allies with Carthage, Rome's sworn enemy, hoping to distract the Republic while he consolidates his power in Greece. This move, bold and reckless, draws Rome's attention like a beacon. The stage is set for a confrontation, not yet a war, but a shadow of one, where envoys and spies move as swiftly as soldiers. Imagine standing in the agora of Athens, where the air hums with debate and fear. The Parthenon looms above, its marble columns a testament to a fading golden age. Merchants whisper of Philip's armies, of Macedonian spears glinting in the sun. Across the sea, Roman ships dock at Epidamnus, their crews speaking of a republic that bends but never breaks. The Greek cities, caught between two powers, sense a shift in the winds of history. Philip's ambition, like a flame, burns bright, but it casts a shadow that Rome cannot ignore. Will Macedon's dream of empire unite Greece, or will it draw the legions across the sea? As the night deepens, let us linger here, where whispers of war grow louder, and the fate of two worlds hangs in a delicate balance. As the stars twinkle above, casting a soft glow over the ancient world, let us drift to the shores of Greece, where the year is 214 BCE, and the air hums with the tension of impending conflict. The Mediterranean is a chessboard, its pieces moved by ambition, fear, and the weight of destiny. Macedon, under the young and daring Philip V, seeks to bind the fractious Greek city-states under his rule, his phalanxes marching to the rhythm of Alexander's faded dreams. Across the sea, Rome, bloodied but unbowed from its wars with Carthage, turns its gaze eastward. The First Macedonian War, a shadowy prelude to greater struggles, is about to begin, a conflict not of grand battles but of cautious maneuvers, alliances, and betrayals. Tonight, let us walk the rugged paths of Illyria and the bustling agoras of Greece, where Rome and Macedon first test each other's strength, their clash a whisper of the storms to come. The stage for this war is set by Philip V's ambition. Macedon's king, now in his mid-20s, has spent years tightening his grip on Greece. His campaigns in the Peloponnese and against the Aetolian League have won him allies and enemies in equal measure. Cities like Corinth bow to his influence, while Athens and the Aetolians defy him, their defiance fueled by pride and fear of Macedonian domination. Philip's navy, though modest, harasses the Aegean, threatening the trade routes of Rhodes and Pergamon, maritime powers allied with Athens. But Philip's boldest move comes in 215 BCE, when he signs a treaty with Hannibal, Carthage's brilliant general, who is ravaging Italy in the Second Punic War. This alliance is a gamble. Philip hopes to distract Rome, keeping its legions pinned in Italy while he consolidates his power in Greece. Rome, however, is not so easily distracted. The Republic is locked in a desperate struggle with Carthage, its cities under siege, its fields burned by Hannibal's armies. Yet Rome's leaders, ever pragmatic, see Philip's alliance with their enemy as a threat that cannot be ignored. The Adriatic coast, where Greek cities like Apollonia and Epidamnus thrive, is a vital link to the east. If Philip controls these ports, he could ferry troops to Italy, joining Hannibal's war. The Roman Senate, meeting in the shadow of the Temple of Jupiter, debates its options. War with Macedon is a risk. Rome's legions are stretched thin, But inaction is riskier still. The Republic turns to diplomacy, seeking allies among Philip's enemies in Greece. The Aetolian League, a coalition of central Greek states, becomes Rome's first partner. The Aetolians, fierce and fiercely independent, have clashed with Philip for years, their raiders striking Macedonian outposts. In 211 BCE, Rome signs a treaty with them, promising support against Philip. This alliance is no grand coalition, but a marriage of convenience. The Aetolians see Rome as a distant power, a useful counterweight to Macedon's might. Rome, in turn, sees the Aetolians as a tool to keep Philip at bay without committing its full strength. Other allies join the fold. Pergamon, ruled by King Attalus I, and Rhodes, both wary of Philip's naval ambitions. Even Sparta, its warrior spirit dimmed but not extinguished, lends its name to the coalition. The First Macedonian War, which begins in 214 BCE, is less a war of battles than of skirmishes and strategy. Rome, unable to spare legions from Italy, relies on its navy and allies. Roman ships patrol the Adriatic, raiding Macedonian outposts along the Illyrian coast, where Philip has seized key ports. Imagine the scene: triremes slicing through moonlit waters, their oars dipping in rhythm, as Roman marines land on rocky shores, torching supply depots. The Aetolians, meanwhile, harass Philip's forces in Greece, their light infantry striking from the hills. Philip, caught off guard, responds with vigor. His phalanxes march south, capturing Aetolian strongholds, while his navy clashes with Rhodes and Pergamon in the Aegean. Yet Philip's resources are stretched thin, his attention divided between Greece and the Adriatic. The war's most dramatic moments unfold in Illyria, a wild land of mountains and pirates. Philip, seeking to secure his western flank, campaigns against cities like Apollonia, which have appealed to Rome for protection. In 213 BCE, he besieges the city, his troops encamped under its walls. Rome's response is swift but limited. A small fleet under the command of Marcus Valerius Levinus lands troops to relieve Apollonia, forcing Philip to retreat. The Macedonian king, frustrated, burns his own ships to prevent their capture, a gesture as defiant as it is desperate. These clashes, though small, reveal the stakes. Rome's navy is a growing force, and its willingness to intervene in Greece signals a shift in the Mediterranean's balance. As the war drags on, both sides tire. Rome, bled by Hannibal's victories in Italy, cannot commit to a full campaign in Greece. Philip, facing rebellions in his own kingdom and pressure from his Greek rivals, struggles to hold his gains. The Aetolians, fierce but fractious, grow weary of a war that brings little gain. By 205 BCE, the conflict sputters to a close with the Peace of Phalanxes, a treaty that restores the status quo. Philip retains control of his Illyrian ports, while Rome secures its alliances with the Aetolians and others. The treaty is a pause, not an end, a moment for both sides to catch their breath. Picture a weary Roman envoy standing on the docks of Epidamnus, the sea stretching toward Greece. He knows the war has achieved little, but it has shown Rome's reach, its ability to project power across the sea. In Pella, Philip gazes at maps of Greece, his ambition undimmed but tempered by the reality of Rome's tenacity. The Greek city-states, caught between these powers, whisper of freedom, their voices rising in Athens and Rhodes. The Peace of Phalanxes is a fragile thing, a parchment promise that cannot hold back the tide of history. What will happen when Rome, freed from Carthage, turns its full attention to Greece? As the night cradles you, let us linger on this question, where the seeds of a greater war are sown, and the fate of Greece trembles in the balance. As the night weaves its quiet spell, let us stand in the heart of Athens, where the Parthenon's marble columns gleam under a silver moon. The year is 200 BCE, and Greece is a land of restless whispers, its city-states caught in a delicate dance between pride and fear. The Peace of Phalanxes, signed 5 years earlier, has brought a fragile calm, but the shadow of Macedon looms large. Philip V, undeterred by his stalemate with Rome in the First Macedonian War, tightens his grip on Greece, his ambitions stirring unease in the agoras of Athens, Rhodes, and beyond. Yet across the sea, Rome emerges from its long struggle with Carthage, its legions stronger, its gaze turning eastward. Tonight, let us listen to the cry for freedom rising from Greece's cities, a plea that draws Rome into their world, not as a conqueror, but as a savior whose motives remain shrouded in mystery. The Greece of 200 BCE is a tapestry of beauty and division. Athens, though no longer the naval power of Pericles' day, remains a beacon of culture, its philosophers debating in the shade of olive trees, its orators rallying citizens in the agora. Rhodes, an island city of merchants and mariners, thrives on trade, its colossal statue of Helios gazing over the harbor. Pergamon, nestled in Asia Minor, glitters with wealth, its king Attalus a patron of art and enemy of Macedon. Smaller leagues like the Achaean and Aetolian bind cities together, but their unity is fragile, strained by old rivalries. These states, proud of their Hellenic heritage, chafe under Philip's influence. His garrisons occupy key cities like Corinth, and his navy threatens the Aegean's trade routes, strangling the prosperity of Rhodes and Athens. Philip V, now in his 30s, is a king at the height of his powers. His court in Pella hums with ambition, his advisors urging him to seize Greece's remaining free cities. He campaigns in the Aegean, capturing islands and clashing with Rhodes' fleet. His phalanxes march through the Peloponnese, pressuring the Achaean League, led by the aging strategist Aratus of Sicyon. To the Greeks, Philip is a tyrant in the making, his promises of protection masking a hunger for dominion. Athens, defiant as ever, refuses his overtures, its citizens burning Macedonian envoys in effigy. Rhodes and Pergamon, fearing for their trade, send diplomats to rally support against him. The Aetolians, still smarting from the First Macedonian War, call for resistance, their voices echoing in the hills of central Greece. But Greece's cities know they cannot face Philip alone. His army, 20,000 strong, is a machine of war, its sarissa-wielding phalanxes nearly invincible on open ground. His alliances with cities like Messene and Argos give him a foothold in the Peloponnese, while his navy, though small, harasses the Aegean. The Greeks, divided and weakened, turn their eyes west, to a power that has already proven its mettle against Philip: Rome. The Republic, victorious in the Second Punic War by 201 BCE, has emerged as a Mediterranean titan. Hannibal's defeat at Zama has freed Rome's legions, its treasury swelling with Carthaginian tribute. Roman merchants, now a common sight in Greek ports, bring tales of a republic that bends but never breaks, its legions a force of relentless discipline. The cry for freedom begins in earnest in 201 BCE, when envoys from Rhodes, Pergamon, and Athens sail to Rome. Picture their ships gliding into Ostia, Rome's port, their sails catching the dawn light. In the Senate, these Greek diplomats paint a dire picture. Philip's aggression threatens the Aegean. His alliance with the Seleucid king Antiochus III hints at a broader plot to dominate the East. Athens, they say, risks losing its freedom, its democracy a flickering flame. Rhodes warns of trade routes choked by Macedonian ships. Pergamon's Attalus, a shrewd ally, appeals to Rome's pride, framing Philip as a threat to the balance of power. The senators, gathered in the Curia, listen intently. Rome's leaders, men like Titus Quinctius Flamininus, see opportunity in Greece's plight. An intervention could secure Rome's eastern flank, open new markets, and win the gratitude of Greece's cities. Yet Rome's decision is not unanimous. The Republic's citizens, weary from decades of war with Carthage, crave peace. Senators like Publius Sulpicius Galba argue for action, warning that Philip's ambitions could reach Italy's shores. Others, wary of overextension, urge caution. The Roman people, whose vote is needed for war, are skeptical, their fields still scarred from Hannibal's campaigns. But the envoys' pleas, coupled with memories of Philip's alliance with Carthage, tip the scales. In 200 BCE, the Senate declares war, framing it as a defense of Greek freedom. Flamininus, a young and charismatic consul, is chosen to lead the campaign, his eloquence and admiration for Greek culture making him a perfect envoy to the Hellenic world. The Greek cities, hearing of Rome's decision, are torn between hope and fear. Athens celebrates, its citizens crowding the Pnyx to cheer the news. Rhodes and Pergamon prepare their fleets, eager to join the fight. But others, like the Achaean League, hesitate, wary of trading one master for another. The Aetolians, ever pragmatic, see Rome as a necessary ally but distrust its motives. Imagine a merchant in Rhodes harbor, watching Roman triremes anchor alongside Greek ships. He wonders, is Rome truly a liberator or a wolf in sheep's clothing? The answer lies in the war to come, a conflict that will test Rome's intentions and Greece's resolve. As the war looms, Philip prepares for the storm. He fortifies his strongholds, rallies his allies, and drills his phalanxes in the fields of Macedon. Rome's legions, meanwhile, gather in Brundisium, their armor glinting under the Italian sun. Flamininus, standing on the deck of a trireme, gazes toward Greece, his heart filled with dreams of glory and liberation. The Greek cities, caught between hope and uncertainty, brace for a conflict that will reshape their world. What will this war bring? Freedom or a new kind of chains? As the night enfolds you, let us linger on this question, where the clash of Rome and Macedon draws near, and the fate of Greece hangs in a delicate balance. As the night settles around you like a soft blanket, let us drift to the shores of Greece in the year 200 BCE, where the air is thick with the scent of olive groves and the distant clang of bronze. The cry for freedom from Athens, Rhodes, and Pergamon has reached Rome, and the Republic, fresh from its triumph over Carthage, now turns its iron gaze to Macedon. Philip V, the ambitious king who dreams of reviving Alexander's empire, stands defiant, his phalanxes poised to defend his hold on Greece. The Second Macedonian War is about to begin, a conflict that will test the strength of Rome's legions against the might of Macedon's spears. Tonight, let us follow the Roman commander Titus Quinctius Flamininus as he sails across the Adriatic, his heart set on liberating Greece, or claiming it for Rome. Picture the torchlit camps, the whispered strategies, and the restless cities awaiting their fate. The Greece of 200 BCE is a land of beauty and tension. Athens, its marble temples aglow under the stars, rallies its citizens to resist Philip's domination. Rhodes, its harbor bustling with ships, prepares its fleet to challenge Macedon's navy. Pergamon, under King Attalus I, fortifies its Acropolis, its wealth and art a testament to its defiance. The Aetolian League, fierce and fractious, sharpens its spears, while the Achaean League, led by Philopoemen, wavers, torn between loyalty to Philip and the allure of Rome's promises. Philip V, ensconced in Pella, is no idle king. His army, 20,000 strong, drills in the Macedonian plains, their sarissas, long pikes that pierce the air, gleaming like a forest of steel. His garrisons hold key cities like Corinth and Chalcis, strangling Greece's freedom. Rome's decision to intervene is led by Titus Quinctius Flamininus, a young consul of 30, whose charisma and love for Greek culture make him a figure of fascination. Flamininus is no mere soldier. He speaks Greek fluently, quotes Homer, and dreams of being seen as Greece's liberator. In the spring of 200 BCE, he lands in Illyria with 20,000 legionaries, their red cloaks a stark contrast to the rocky coast. Rome's legions are a marvel of discipline, organized into maniples, flexible units that can adapt to any terrain. Unlike the rigid Macedonian phalanx, which relies on flat ground and tight formation, the Roman system thrives on mobility, its soldiers wielding short swords and heavy shields. Flamininus, standing on a hill overlooking his army, knows his task is daunting: to defeat Philip while winning the hearts of Greece's fractious cities. The war begins with cautious maneuvers. Philip, aware of Rome's arrival, fortifies his western borders, particularly the passes of Pyrrhus, where mountains guard the approach to Greece. Flamininus, unwilling to risk a frontal assault, spends the first year probing Philip's defenses. Skirmishes flare along the Agoras River, where Roman scouts clash with Macedonian outposts. Imagine the scene: a narrow gorge, its cliffs echoing with the cries of soldiers as Roman javelins meet Macedonian spears. Flamininus, guided by local shepherds, outflanks Philip's position, forcing the king to retreat. This early success, though small, sends a message. Rome's legions are not the barbarians Philip expected, but a disciplined force capable of matching his tactics. As Flamininus marches south, he courts Greece's cities with diplomacy as much as force. In Athens, he is welcomed as a hero, his speeches in the agora praising the city's ancient freedoms. He promises to drive Philip from Greece to restore the autonomy of its city-states. Rhodes and Pergamon, already allies, bolster his campaign with ships and gold. The Aetolians, ever opportunistic, join the fight, their raiders harassing Philip's supply lines. But not all Greeks embrace Rome. The Achaean League, fearing Philip's wrath, remains loyal to Macedon, while cities like Thebes and Corinth, under Macedonian garrisons, resist Flamininus' overtures. The Roman consul, undeterred, besieges key strongholds, his siege engines pounding their walls by day, their fires lighting the night. Philip, meanwhile, fights a war on multiple fronts. His navy clashes with Rhodes in the Aegean, while his phalanxes defend central Greece. In 199 BCE, he faces Flamininus at the Battle of Ai Stina, a narrow pass where the Macedonian phalanx holds the advantage. The battle is fierce, the ground slick with blood, but Flamininus' legions, using the terrain to disrupt the phalanx's formation, force Philip to withdraw. The Macedonian king, his army intact but shaken, retreats to Thessaly, where he prepares for a larger confrontation. Flamininus, sensing victory, presses his advantage, capturing cities like Eladia and winning over wavering allies with promises of freedom. The war's early years reveal the strengths and weaknesses of both sides. Philip's phalanx is formidable on open ground. Its long spears a wall of death, but it struggles in rough terrain, where Rome's maniples excel. Flamininus, a master of strategy, avoids pitched battles, focusing instead on cutting Philip's supply lines and isolating his garrisons. The Greeks, watching this dance of armies, are divided. Athens and its allies cheer Rome's advances, their hopes pinned on Flamininus' promises. But others, like the Achaeans, whisper of Rome's true intentions. Is Flamininus a liberator or a conqueror cloaked in Greek phrases? The question lingers in the agoras, where orators debate under starlit skies. By 198 BCE, the war's momentum shifts. Flamininus, now proconsul, strengthens his position, his army swollen with Greek allies. Philip, facing defections, grows desperate. He sends envoys to negotiate peace, but Flamininus, sensing victory, demands harsh terms. Macedon must withdraw from Greece entirely. Philip, proud and defiant, refuses, his heart set on one final stand. The stage is set for a decisive clash, a battle that will determine Greece's fate. Imagine a Greek farmer, standing on a hill overlooking Thessaly, where the armies gather. He sees the glint of Roman armor, the bristle of Macedonian spears, and wonders, will this war bring freedom or merely a change of masters? As the night deepens, let us pause here, on the eve of a great battle. Flamininus, his eyes fixed on the horizon, dreams of glory, while Philip in his camp sharpens his resolve. The Greek cities, caught between hope and fear, await the outcome. The Battle of Cynoscephalae looms, a moment where history will turn and the cries of freedom will be tested against the clash of steel. What will this battle bring, and what price will Greece pay for Rome's aid? Let us linger on this question, as the stars guide us toward the next chapter of this ancient tale. As the night wraps you in its soothing embrace, let us journey to the rolling hills of Thessaly, where the year is 197 BCE, and the air hums with the tension of an approaching storm. The Second Macedonian War has reached its crescendo, and two armies, Roman and Macedonian, stand poised to clash in a battle that will echo through the ages. Titus Quinctius Flamininus, Rome's charismatic commander, leads his legions with the promise of Greek freedom, while Philip V, king of Macedon, fights to preserve his dream of empire. The Battle of Cynoscephalae, fought on a misty morning atop rugged hills, will decide the fate of Greece. A clash of titans where Roman discipline meets Macedonian might. Tonight, let us walk the battlefield, where the clash of steel and the cries of soldiers shape a turning point in history, lulling you into the gentle rhythm of the past. Thessaly, in central Greece, is a land of wide plains and jagged hills, its fields golden with wheat, its skies heavy with summer clouds. Here, in the spring of 197 BCE, Flamininus pursues Philip, determined to force a decisive confrontation. The Roman commander, now in his third year in Greece, has outmaneuvered the Macedonian king, capturing cities and winning allies with his blend of diplomacy and force. His army, 26,000 strong, includes Roman legions, Aetolian skirmishers, and Greek auxiliaries from Athens and Rhodes. The legions, organized into maniples, are a marvel of flexibility. Their soldiers armed with short swords, heavy shields, and javelins that rain death from a distance. Flamininus, his red cloak billowing in the wind, is a figure of inspiration, his speeches in Greek stirring the hearts of his allies. Philip V, though battered, is far from defeated. His army, numbering 25,000, is anchored by the Macedonian phalanx, a formation that has dominated battlefields since Alexander's day. The phalanx, with its 18-foot sarissas, forms a wall of spears, unbreakable on flat ground but cumbersome in rough terrain. Philip's cavalry, drawn from Macedon's nobility, are skilled horsemen, while his light troops, trained for skirmishing, guard his flanks. The king, now in his 40s, is a seasoned warrior, his pride wounded by Roman victories but his resolve unbroken. He chooses Thessaly for his stand, hoping its open fields will favor his phalanx. As the armies converge near the hills of Cynoscephalae, named for their dog-head shape, the stage is set for a battle that will reshape the Greek world. The battle begins almost by chance. On a misty morning, Roman and Macedonian scouts clash in the hills, their skirmishes drawing both armies into a chaotic encounter. Imagine the scene. Fog cloaks the landscape, the ground uneven with ridges and gullies. Flamininus, alerted to Philip's presence, deploys his legions on the left, his Greek allies on the right, and his cavalry scouting the flanks. Philip, caught off guard, scrambles to form his phalanx, but the terrain is against him. The hills disrupt his formation, forcing his troops to advance in disjointed lines. As the mist lifts, the armies face each other, their banners fluttering in the breeze, their shouts echoing across the slopes. The battle unfolds in two phases. On Philip's right, his phalanx charges downhill, its sarissas lowered like a tide of steel. The Roman left, unprepared for the onslaught, buckles under the weight, legionaries falling beneath the relentless pikes. Flamininus, watching from a ridge, rallies his men, urging them to hold their ground. But on the Macedonian left, Philip's formation is still forming, its soldiers struggling to align their spears in the uneven terrain. Flamininus seizes the moment, ordering his right wing, bolstered by Aetolian skirmishers, to attack. The Romans, with their flexible maniples, exploit the gaps in the Macedonian line, their javelins sowing chaos before they close with swords. The turning point comes from an unnamed Roman tribune, a moment of brilliance that shifts the tide. Seeing the Macedonian right engaged, he detaches 2,000 legionaries from the Roman right and leads them in a daring flank attack. Picture the scene. Roman soldiers, their armor caked with mud, charge into the rear of Philip's phalanx, their swords slashing at unprotected backs. The phalanx, rigid and immobile, cannot turn to face this new threat. Panic spreads, sarissas dropping as soldiers flee. Philip, fighting on the front lines, sees his army unravel. His cavalry, overwhelmed by Roman and Aetolian horsemen, cannot stem the rout. By midday, the battle is over, the hills littered with the fallen, 8,000 Macedonians dead, 5,000 captured, against 700 Roman losses. Philip flees to Larissa, his dreams of empire shattered. Flamininus, standing amid the carnage, surveys the battlefield, his heart torn between triumph and the weight of what comes next. The Greeks, watching from their cities, are stunned. Athens erupts in celebration, its citizens hailing Flamininus as a liberator. Rhodes and Pergamon, their fleets now unchallenged, praise Rome's might. But the Aetolians, ever suspicious, mutter of Roman ambition, their trust in Flamininus waning. The Achaean League, once loyal to Philip, begins to waver, its leaders sensing the wind's change. In the aftermath, Flamininus negotiates with Philip, offering terms that are harsh but not crushing. The Treaty of Flamininus, signed later in 197 BCE, forces Philip to abandon his garrisons in Greece, surrender his navy, and pay a heavy indemnity. Macedon remains a kingdom, but its power is broken, its influence confined to its northern borders. Flamininus, hailed as a hero, prepares to address Greece's cities, his next move a bold stroke that will redefine Rome's role in the Hellenic world. But beneath the cheers, a question lingers. Has Rome come to free Greece, or to bind it in chains disguised as liberty? Stand now on the hills of Cynoscephalae, where the wind carries the echoes of battle. The ground is stained with the blood of Macedonians and Romans, the air heavy with the weight of victory. Flamininus, gazing toward Corinth, dreams of a Greece united under Rome's protection. Across the sea, Philip, humbled but alive, plots his next move. The Greek cities, caught between gratitude and unease, await Rome's next act. What will Flamininus proclaim, and will his words bring freedom or servitude? As the night cradles you, let us linger on this moment, where the clash of titans gives way to a new chapter, and the fate of Greece trembles in the balance. As the night deepens, casting its tranquil veil over the world, let us stand in the heart of Corinth, where the Isthmian Games of 196 BCE draw crowds from across Greece. The air is alive with the scent of pine and the murmur of thousands, gathered to celebrate athletic prowess and honor the gods. The Battle of Cynoscephalae, fought just a year prior, still lingers in memory, its echoes shaping the hopes and fears of Greece's city-states. Titus Quinctius Flamininus, Rome's victorious commander, stands poised to address the assembled Greeks, his red cloak a stark contrast to the white-robed priests and athletes. Macedon's power is broken, its King Philip V humbled, but what does Rome intend for Greece? Tonight, let us listen to the words that will resonate through the ages, a proclamation of freedom that carries both promise and shadow, lulling you into the gentle rhythm of this ancient tale. The Greece of 196 BCE is a land caught between exultation and uncertainty. Athens, its agora buzzing with debate, hails Flamininus as a liberator, its citizens dreaming of a return to the days of Pericles. Rhodes and Pergamon, allies in the war against Philip, celebrate their unchallenged trade routes, their harbors bustling once more. The Aetolian League, though instrumental in Rome's victory, grumbles, suspicious of Flamininus motives. The Achaean League, once loyal to Macedon, now courts Rome, its leader Philopoemen navigating a delicate path. Across Greece, cities like Thebes and Chalcis, freed from Macedonian garrisons, breathe easier, yet whispers persist. Can Rome, a republic of soldiers and senators, truly understand the soul of Greece? Flamininus, at 31, is a figure of charisma and contradiction. He loves Greek culture, its poetry, its philosophy, its art, yet serves a republic driven by pragmatism and power. After Cynoscephalae, he has spent months negotiating with Philip, securing a treaty that strips Macedon of its Greek holdings, navy, and wealth. But Flamininus knows that military victory alone will not win Greece's loyalty. The city-states, proud and fractious, value their autonomy above all. To bind them to Rome, he must offer something extraordinary, something that will echo in their hearts and histories. As the Isthmian Games approach, he prepares a gesture that will stun the Greek world. Picture the scene at the Isthmus of Corinth, where a vast crowd gathers under a golden sun. Athletes compete in races and wrestling, their cheers mingling with the hymns of priests honoring Poseidon. The Games, held every 2 years, are a sacred pause in Greece's turmoil, a moment when rival cities unite in celebration. Flamininus, invited as a guest of honor, ascends a platform, his presence commanding silence. The Greeks, expecting a speech of triumph or tribute, lean forward, their eyes fixed on the Roman. What follows is a moment etched in history. Flamininus, speaking in flawless Greek, declares that Rome grants freedom to the Greeks. The cities of Greece, he proclaims, are to be free from Macedonian rule, free to govern themselves, free from tribute or garrisons. The Senate and people of Rome, he says, desire only the liberty of their Hellenic brothers. The crowd erupts in a roar that shakes the earth. Men weep, embrace, and chant Flamininus' name, their voices carrying across the isthmus. In Athens, the news sparks festivals, statues raised to the Roman who has freed them. Rhodes and Pergamon send envoys with gifts, their gratitude boundless. Even the Aetolians, though skeptical, join the celebrations, their warriors toasting Rome's name. The proclamation of freedom, as it comes to be known, is a masterstroke. It casts Rome not as a conqueror but as a liberator, a protector of Greek autonomy. Flamininus, hailed as a second Alexander, basks in the adulation, his vision of a Greece allied with Rome seemingly within reach. But beneath the cheers, cracks appear. The Aetolians, who fought fiercely at Cynoscephalae, feel cheated, believing Rome has claimed the glory they earned. They mutter that freedom under Rome's shadow is no freedom at all. The Achaean League, while grateful, eyes Rome warily, its leaders aware that Flamininus legions remain in Greece, their camps a reminder of Rome's power. Smaller cities, like Chalcis and Corinth, freed from Macedonian garrisons, find Roman advisors in their councils, their freedom guided by Latin hands. Flamininus, for all his eloquence, is a Roman, bound to the Senate's will. His proclamation, though heartfelt, serves Rome's interests, securing allies and trade routes while weakening potential rivals like Macedon. As Flamininus toured Greece, his presence is both a blessing and a burden. In Athens, he is honored with a cult, his name invoked alongside Apollo's. In Corinth, he oversees the return of exiles, restoring stability but also installing pro-Roman leaders. Yet, his actions sow seeds of doubt. The Greeks, steeped in their own history, recall the promises of kings and tyrants, each claiming to champion freedom while tightening chains. The proclamation of freedom, for all its grandeur, is not a gift but a strategy, a way to bind Greece to Rome without swords. Flamininus, aware of the skepticism, works tirelessly, his speeches weaving dreams of a united Hellenic world under Rome's protection. Across the Aegean, a new shadow stirs. Antiochus III, king of the Seleucid Empire, watches Rome's rise with unease. His vast realm, stretching from Syria to India, dwarfs Macedon, but Rome's victory at Cynoscephalae signals a new power in the Mediterranean. Antiochus, ambitious and cunning, begins to court Greek cities, offering his own promises of protection. The Greeks, caught between Rome's legions and Seleucid gold, face a new choice. Flamininus, preparing to return to Rome, senses the growing tension, his dream of a free Greece threatened by this eastern rival. Imagine standing in the agora of Corinth, where the echoes of Flamininus' proclamation still linger. The crowd has dispersed, but the air hums with questions. Statues of the Roman rise alongside those of Greek heroes, their marble faces gazing into an uncertain future. The Greeks, free for now, wonder, is Rome's gift a dawn of liberty or the first light of a new empire? As the night cradles you, let us pause on this moment, where the cheers of freedom mingle with whispers of doubt, and a new threat looms on the horizon, ready to test Rome's resolve and Greece's fragile unity. As the night folds around you like a velvet cloak, let us drift across the Aegean Sea to the lands of Asia Minor, where the year is 196 BCE, and a new shadow looms over the Greek world. The dust of Cynoscephalae has settled, and Titus Quinctius Flamininus' proclamation of freedom still echoes in the agoras of Athens and Corinth, its promise of liberty a beacon for Greece's city-states. Yet the Mediterranean is never still, and a new power stirs in the east. The Seleucid Empire, led by the formidable Antiochus III, known as the Great. His ambitions, vast as the empire he rules, cast a shadow over Greece, threatening to unravel Rome's delicate triumph. Tonight, let us walk the marble halls of Antioch and the wind-swept hills of Greece, where whispers of a new war grow louder, lulling you into the gentle cadence of this ancient tale. The Seleucid Empire, stretching from the shores of Syria to the borders of India, is a colossus of the Hellenistic world. Its capital, Antioch, gleams with wealth, its markets brimming with spices, silk, and gold. Antiochus III, now in his 40s, is a king of relentless ambition, his reign marked by campaigns that have restored Seleucid power after decades of decline. He has conquered lands in Persia, subdued rebels in Asia Minor, and faced the Ptolemies of Egypt in battles that echo Alexander's glory. His army, 70,000 strong, includes phalanxes, war elephants, and cavalry drawn from the vast reaches of his empire. To the Greeks, Antiochus is both a savior and a specter, a king who could shield them from Rome's growing influence or bind them in chains of his own. Greece, in the wake of Flamininus' proclamation, is a land of fragile hope. Athens, its philosophers debating under the Parthenon's shadow, basks in its restored freedom. Rhodes and Pergamon, Rome's allies, guard their trade routes, their ships patrolling the Aegean. The Achaean League, under Philopoemen, navigates a delicate balance, grateful to Rome, but wary of its legions lingering in Corinth and Chalcis. The Aetolians, bitter at Rome's dominance of the victory at Cynoscephalae, grow restless, their leaders whispering of betrayal. These city-states, though free from Macedon's yoke, sense the weight of Rome's presence. Flamininus' promise of autonomy is tempered by Roman garrisons and advisors, their freedom a gift with strings attached. Antiochus III sees opportunity in Greece's unease. His spies, moving through the markets of Athens and Smyrna, bring tales of discontent. The Aetolians in particular are ripe for alliance, their pride wounded by Rome's glory. In 195 BCE, Antiochus begins his move, sending envoys to Greece with promises of protection and gold. He courts the Aetolians, offering to restore their influence in central Greece. To cities like Chalcis and Demetrias, still chafing under Roman oversight, he presents himself as a Hellenistic king, a true heir to Alexander, unlike the barbarian Romans. His ambition is clear: to claim Greece as a buffer against Rome, securing his western flank and the Aegean's riches. Flamininus, still in Greece, senses the growing threat. Rome's Senate, though triumphant after Cynoscephalae, is reluctant to commit to another war. The Roman people, weary from decades of conflict, demand peace, their fields still recovering from Hannibal's devastation. Yet, Flamininus, ever the diplomat, knows that Antiochus' ambitions cannot be ignored. He strengthens Rome's alliances, visiting Athens to reaffirm his commitment to Greek freedom. In Pergamon, he meets with Attalus I's successor, Eumenes II, securing his loyalty with promises of protection. Rhodes, ever vigilant, pledges its navy to Rome's cause. But the Aetolians, feeling sidelined, turn to Antiochus, inviting him to Greece as a liberator. In 192 BCE, Antiochus crosses the Hellespont with a modest army of 10,000 men, landing in Thessaly. Picture the scene. His ships glide into Demetrias, their sails emblazoned with the Seleucid sun. The Aetolians greet him as a savior, their warriors joining his ranks. Antiochus, clad in royal purple, declares himself the protector of Greek freedom, a direct challenge to Rome's proclamation. He captures Chalcis and other cities, his presence sending shockwaves through Greece. Athens, loyal to Rome, refuses his overtures, while the Achaean League, under Philopoemen, remains cautiously neutral. Flamininus, now back in Rome, urges the Senate to act, warning that Antiochus' foothold in Greece could spark a wider war. Rome responds with measured force. In 191 BCE, a Roman army under Manius Acilius Glabrio lands in Greece, supported by fleets from Rhodes and Pergamon. The war begins at Thermopylae, where Antiochus, with his Aetolian allies, attempts to hold the famous pass. Imagine the clash. Seleucid phalanxes, bolstered by war elephants, face Roman legions on the same ground where Leonidas once stood. The Romans, guided by local allies, outflank Antiochus' position, routing his army. Antiochus flees to Asia Minor, leaving the Aetolians to face Rome's wrath. The Romans, relentless, besiege Aetolian strongholds, their catapults pounding city walls under starlit skies. The war shifts to Asia Minor, where Rome's navy, allied with Rhodes, defeats Antiochus' fleet at Myonnesus. In 190 BCE, the decisive blow comes at Magnesia, where Lucius Cornelius Scipio, brother of the famed Scipio Africanus, leads a Roman army against Antiochus' vast host. The battle is a spectacle. 50,000 Seleucids, with elephants and scythed chariots, face 30,000 Romans and their allies. The Roman legions, disciplined and adaptable, exploit the chaos of Antiochus' unwieldy army, their maniples cutting through phalanxes like a blade through cloth. By day's end, Antiochus' army is shattered, his dreams of Greek dominion in ruins. The Peace of Apamea in 188 BCE ends the war. Antiochus surrenders his claims to Greece and Western Asia Minor, paying a crushing indemnity. The Aetolians, abandoned by their Seleucid ally, submit to Rome, their influence broken. Greece, once again, falls under Rome's shadow, its cities free but tethered to Roman will. Stand now in the agora of Athens, where the news of Magnesia spreads. The Parthenon looms above, its marble a silent witness to Greece's shifting fate. Flamininus' proclamation, once a beacon, now feels like a distant promise. Antiochus' defeat has secured Rome's dominance, but at what cost to Greece's soul? As the night cradles you, let us linger on this question, where the Seleucid shadow fades, and a new chapter of Roman rule begins to unfold. As the night enfolds you in its gentle hush, let us drift to the shores of Greece and Asia Minor, where the year is 192 BCE, and the Mediterranean hums with the tension of an unfolding war. The proclamation of freedom, delivered by Titus Quinctius Flamininus at the Isthmian Games, still lingers in the hearts of Greece's city-states, yet its promise is tested by a new threat from the east. Antiochus III, the Great, king of the Seleucid Empire, has landed in Greece, his banners raised as a champion of Hellenic liberty against Rome's growing shadow. The war with Antiochus, a clash of empires, will sweep across land and sea, its battles reshaping the Greek world. Tonight, let us follow the march of armies and the whispers of diplomats, as Rome confronts a king whose ambitions rival its own, lulling you into the soothing rhythm of this ancient tale. The Seleucid Empire in 192 BCE is a vast tapestry of cultures, its cities, confirming Antioch, Seleucia, Sardis, gleaming with wealth and power. Antiochus III, a seasoned ruler in his late 40s, commands an army of 70,000. Its ranks swelled by phalanxes, war elephants, and cavalry from Persia and Bactria. His navy, though outmatched by Rome's allies, patrols the Aegean, challenging the fleets of Rhodes and Pergamon. Antiochus, styling himself as a liberator, has been invited by the Aetolian League, who chafe under Rome's dominance after Cynoscephalae. His arrival in Thessaly, with 10,000 men, sends ripples through Greece. Cities like Chalcis and Demetrias rally to his cause, their citizens hoping for a Hellenistic king to counter Rome's Latin yoke. Athens, loyal to Rome, stands firm, while the Achaean League under Philopoemen watches warily, its loyalty uncertain. Rome, now a Mediterranean power after its victories over Carthage and Macedon, responds with resolve. The Senate, meeting in the shadow of the Temple of Jupiter, sees Antiochus' incursion as a direct challenge. The Roman people, though weary of war, are rallied by tales of Seleucid ambition, their senators warning of a new empire threatening their eastern flank. Manius Acilius Glabrio, a stern and capable consul, is dispatched to Greece with 20,000 legionaries, supported by the fleets of Rhodes and Pergamon. The Roman legions, disciplined and adaptable, are a stark contrast to Antiochus' unwieldy army, which blends Macedonian phalanxes with eastern levies. Rome's allies, particularly Rhodes, bring naval supremacy, their triremes cutting through the Aegean like knives through silk. The war's first major clash comes in 191 BCE at Thermopylae, the storied pass where Leonidas once defied Persia. Antiochus, with his Aetolian allies, fortifies the narrow gorge, his phalanxes and elephants forming a formidable barrier. Picture the scene. Mist clings to the cliffs, the air heavy with the scent of pine and sweat. Glabrio, guided by local scouts, repeats history's lesson, sending troops along a mountain path to outflank the Seleucid position. The Romans strike from the rear, their javelins raining down as Antiochus' phalanx falters in the cramped terrain. The Seleucid king, his army crumbling, flees to Chalcis, then sails to Asia Minor, abandoning his Aetolian allies. The Romans, relentless, besiege Aetolian strongholds, their catapults pounding city walls under starlit skies, forcing the League to sue for peace. The war shifts to the sea and Asia Minor, where Rome's strategy unfolds with precision. In 190 BCE, the Roman navy, allied with Rhodes, defeats Antiochus' fleet at the Battle of Myonessus. Imagine the Aegean sparkling under the sun, triremes clashing, their rams splintering hulls. Rhodes' mariners, masters of the sea, outmaneuver the Seleucid ships, securing control of the Aegean. This victory isolates Antiochus, cutting his supply lines to Greece. Meanwhile, Rome sends a new commander, Lucius Cornelius Scipio, accompanied by his brother, the famed Scipio Africanus, victor over Hannibal. Their mission: to pursue Antiochus into his heartland and end his ambitions. The decisive moment comes at the Battle of Magnesia in 190 BCE, near Sardis in Asia Minor. Antiochus, mustering 50,000 men, including phalanxes, elephants, and scythed chariots, faces Scipio's 30,000-strong army, bolstered by Pergamon's cavalry and Rhodes' archers. The battlefield is a vast plain, the air thick with dust and the trumpeting of elephants. Antiochus, confident in his numbers, leads a cavalry charge, but Scipio's legions, organized into flexible maniples, hold firm. The Roman javelins disrupt the phalanx, while Pergamon's horsemen outflank the Seleucid left. The elephants, panicked by Roman fire arrows, stampede into their own ranks, sowing chaos. By dusk, Antiochus' army is routed, 30,000 dead against Rome's 2,000 losses. The Seleucid king, his dreams shattered, flees to Antioch, his empire humbled. The Peace of Apamia, signed in 188 BCE, seals Antiochus' defeat. He surrenders his claims to Greece and Western Asia Minor, cedes his navy, and pays a crushing indemnity of 15,000 talents. The Aetolians, abandoned by their ally, submit to Rome, their influence broken. Greece, once again, falls under Rome's shadow, its cities free but bound by Roman will. Rhodes and Pergamon, rewarded with new territories, grow richer, while Athens, loyal to Rome, basks in its favor. But the Achaean League, sensing Rome's tightening grip, grows uneasy, its leaders whispering of autonomy lost. Stand now in the agora of Chalcis, where Roman soldiers patrol the streets once held by Antiochus' men. The city's temples, dedicated to Apollo, stand silent, their priests pondering Greece's fate. The war with Antiochus has secured Rome's dominance, but it has also revealed the Republic's ambition. The Greeks, caught between gratitude and fear, wonder, is Rome's protection a shield or a shackle? As the night cradles you, let us pause on this moment, where the Seleucid shadow fades, and a new Macedonian king rises to challenge Rome's rule, setting the stage for a final struggle that will bind Greece ever closer to its conqueror. As the night enfolds you in its tranquil embrace, let us wander back to the hills of Greece, where the year is 171 BCE, and the air carries the faint hum of impending conflict. The Seleucid shadow of Antiochus III has faded, his empire humbled by Rome at Magnesia, leaving Greece under the watchful gaze of the Roman Republic. The city-states, Athens, Rhodes, Pergamon, enjoy a fragile freedom, their autonomy guaranteed by Rome's might but tethered to its will. Yet in the north, Macedon stirs once more. Philip V, defeated at Cynoscephalae, is dead, and his son, Pyrrhus, now wears the crown, his heart burning with dreams of restoring his kingdom's glory. The Third Macedonian War is about to begin, a clash that will test Rome's patience and seal Greece's fate. Tonight, let us walk the fields of Thessaly and the halls of Pella, where ambition and defiance collide, lulling you into the gentle rhythm of this ancient tale. Macedon, in 171 BCE, is a kingdom diminished but not broken. Its capital, Pella, still gleams with mosaics and marble, its streets alive with the memory of Alexander's empire. Pyrrhus, a young king in his 30s, inherits a realm weakened by Rome's treaties but rich in potential. His army, 30,000 strong, boasts a formidable phalanx, its sarissas sharpened for war, and cavalry drawn from Macedon's nobility. Pyrrhus, unlike his father, is cautious yet bold, his diplomacy weaving alliances with Illyrian tribes and Thracian kings. He courts Greece's city-states, offering gold and promises of independence from Rome's oversight. To the Greeks, Pyrrhus is a beacon of hope, a Hellenistic king who might free them from the Latin yoke that Flamininus' proclamation failed to lift. Greece itself is a land of uneasy peace. Athens, loyal to Rome, thrives as a center of philosophy, its agora echoing with debates on freedom and fate. Rhodes and Pergamon, enriched by Rome's favor, guard their trade routes, their fleets patrolling the Aegean. The Achaean League, under Philopoemen's successors, grows restless, its cities like Corinth and Argos chafing under Roman advisors who linger in their councils. The Aetolian League, humbled after siding with Antiochus, nurses grudges against Rome, its warriors whispering of rebellion. Across Greece, Rome's presence is felt, garrisons in Chalcis, envoys in Athens, and treaties that bind cities to the Senate's will. The proclamation of freedom, once a rallying cry, now feels like a hollow promise, its liberty overshadowed by Roman power. Pyrrhus, sensing this discontent, moves with calculated precision. He rebuilds Macedon's army, stockpiling grain and forging alliances with neighbors like Pyrrhus and the Illyrians. His envoys visit Greek cities, stirring memories of Macedonian glory under Alexander. In 172 BCE, his actions draw Rome's attention. Reports of Pyrrhus' alliances and his growing army reach the Senate, carried by spies and disgruntled Greek leaders. Eumenes II of Pergamon, Rome's loyal ally, warns of Pyrrhus' ambitions, accusing him of plotting to overthrow Roman influence. The Roman Senate, though weary from wars with Carthage and Antiochus, sees Pyrrhus as a threat that cannot be ignored. A new war is declared, and the Republic prepares to crush Macedon once and for all. The Third Macedonian War begins in 171 BCE, as Roman legions under Publius Licinius Crassus land in Greece. The early years are marked by stalemate. Pyrrhus, a skilled commander, avoids pitched battles, using Thessaly's hills to harass Roman supply lines. His cavalry and light troops outmaneuver the legions, winning small victories that bolster his reputation. Imagine the scene. Macedonian horsemen, their cloaks billowing, charge through misty valleys, striking Roman outposts before vanishing into the hills. The Greeks, watching from their cities, are divided. Some, like Athens, remain loyal to Rome, while others, like the Aetolians, secretly aid Pyrrhus, hoping for a Macedonian revival. In 169 BCE, Rome sends a new commander, Lucius Aemilius Paulus, a seasoned general in his 60s, known for his discipline and cunning. Paulus, arriving with 25,000 men, shifts the war's momentum. He tightens Roman supply lines, courts wavering Greek cities, and prepares for a decisive strike. Pyrrhus, confident in his phalanx, chooses to confront Paulus at Pydna in 168 BCE. Picture the battlefield: a flat plain near the sea, the air heavy with the scent of salt and blood. Pyrrhus' 40,000 troops, including 20,000 phalangites, form a bristling wall of sarissas, their pikes glinting in the dawn light. Paulus' legions, 30,000 strong, deploy in maniples, their flexibility a stark contrast to the phalanx's rigidity. The Battle of Pydna, fought on June 22, 168 BCE, is a clash of two worlds. The Macedonian phalanx charges, its spears crushing the Roman front lines. Paulus, calm under pressure, orders his legions to retreat slowly, drawing the phalanx onto uneven ground. As the Macedonian formation frays, gaps appear, and the Romans exploit them, their maniples surging forward with swords drawn. The phalanx, unable to maneuver, collapses under the onslaught. Pyrrhus' cavalry, overwhelmed by Roman allies, flees, and the king himself escapes with a handful of followers. By dusk, 20,000 Macedonians lie dead, 11,000 are captured, against a mere 1,000 Roman losses. Pydna is a slaughter, a final blow to Macedonian power. Pyrrhus, pursued by Paulus, surrenders soon after, his kingdom dismantled. Rome divides Macedon into 4 republics, its monarchy abolished, its wealth plundered. The Greek cities, watching Pydna's aftermath, are stunned. Athens and Rhodes praise Rome's victory, but the Achaean League grows uneasy, its leaders fearing Rome's tightening grip. Paulus, in a grim display of power, sacks Pyrrhus, an ally of Pyrrhus, enslaving 150,000 of its people. The message is clear: Rome's mercy has limits. Greece, though free of Macedonian rule, feels the weight of Roman dominion, its cities bound by treaties and fear. Stand now in the silent streets of Pella, where Macedonian banners lie trampled, and Roman soldiers march in triumph. The agora, once alive with Alexander's legacy, is quiet, its people mourning a lost kingdom. Across Greece, The cry for freedom falters, replaced by whispers of Rome's unyielding will. Yet in the Peloponnese, the Achaean League stirs, its leaders dreaming of defiance. Can Greece resist the republic that has broken two kings? As the night cradles you, let us linger on this question, where Macedon's fall marks a grim milestone and a final act of rebellion looms, threatening to seal Greece's fate. As the night wraps you in its serene embrace, let us wander to the sun-drenched hills of the Peloponnese, where the year is 150 BCE, and the air carries the faint scent of rebellion. The Third Macedonian War has ended, leaving Macedon shattered, its king Pyrrhus a captive, its lands carved into Roman-controlled republics. Greece, though freed from Macedonian rule, lies under Rome's shadow, its city-states bound by treaties and the presence of Roman envoys. Athens and Rhodes, loyal allies, bask in Rome's favor, but the Achaean League, a coalition of Peloponnesian cities, grows restless. Its leaders, proud of their Greek heritage, chafe under Rome's subtle dominion, their hearts stirring with dreams of true independence. Tonight, let us walk the streets of Corinth and Megalopolis, where defiance takes root, lulling you into the gentle rhythm of this ancient tale. The Achaean League, in 150 BCE, is a federation of city-states, Corinth, Argos, Megalopolis, and others, united for mutual protection. Its strength lies in its democratic assemblies, where citizens debate policy under the shade of ancient oaks. The League, once a wavering ally of Macedon, shifted to Rome after Cynoscephalae, its leaders like Philopoemen navigating the delicate balance of power. But Philopoemen is dead, and his successors, men like Callicrates and Critolaus, grapple with Rome's growing influence. Roman envoys, cloaked in togas, linger in Achaean councils, their advice sounding like commands. The League cities, though free in name, feel the weight of Rome's treaties, which demand loyalty and limit their autonomy. Corinth, the League's heart, is a city of wealth and pride. Its isthmus, bridging the Peloponnese to mainland Greece, bustles with trade, its markets filled with goods from Egypt and Asia Minor. Temples to Apollo and Aphrodite gleam under the sun, while theaters echo with the tragedies of Euripides. Yet Corinth's citizens, like those of other Achaean cities, resent Rome's presence. The Senate's decrees, delivered by envoys, regulate trade and alliances, stifling the League's ambitions. The memory of Flamininus' proclamation of freedom, once a beacon, now feels like a mockery, its promise of liberty overshadowed by Roman garrisons in nearby Chalcis. The Achaeans, steeped in Greek ideals of self-rule, begin to whisper of defiance. The spark of rebellion comes from a dispute over Sparta, a member of the Achaean League. Sparta, though diminished from its days of Leonidas, clings to its warrior traditions, its leaders resisting Achaean control. When the League moves to discipline Sparta, Rome intervenes, demanding that the Achaeans respect Spartan autonomy. This interference, seen as a violation of Greek sovereignty, ignites outrage. Critolaus, a fiery Achaean leader, rallies the League's assembly, his speeches in Megalopolis calling for resistance. He invokes the glory of Greece's past, Marathon, Salamis, Thermopylae, urging the Achaeans to cast off Rome's yoke. His words resonate, and by 147 BCE, the League begins to mobilize, its cities raising militias and forging arms. Rome, ever vigilant, watches these stirrings with alarm. The Senate, meeting in the Curia, sees the Achaean defiance as a threat to its eastern dominion. The Republic, now a Mediterranean power, cannot tolerate rebellion in a region vital to its trade and security. In 146 BCE, Rome dispatches Lucius Mummius, a pragmatic consul, to Greece with 23,000 legionaries. The Achaeans, with a force of 14,000, led by Critolaus, prepare to resist, their hoplites and light infantry no match for Rome's disciplined legions. The League's strategy hinges on holding key passes in the Peloponnese, hoping to delay the Romans and rally Greek support. The first clash comes at Scarphia in 146 BCE. Critolaus, overconfident, leads his militia against a Roman advance force. Picture the scene. A narrow valley, the air thick with dust, as Achaean hoplites, their bronze armor gleaming, face Roman maniples. The Romans, with their javelins and short swords, outmaneuver the Achaeans, whose rigid formations falter on the uneven ground. Critolaus falls in battle, his army scattered, leaving the Peloponnese open to Mummius' advance. The Achaeans, undeterred, rally under a new leader, Daius, who calls for a final stand at Corinth, the League's stronghold. The Battle of Corinth, fought in the summer of 146 BCE, is a desperate last gasp. The Achaeans, outnumbered, fortify the city's walls, their citizens, men, women, and children, joining the fight. Mummius, methodical and relentless, besieges Corinth, his catapults hurling stones that shatter the city's defenses. The Romans breach the walls, their legions pouring through, swords drawn. The battle is swift and brutal, the streets of Corinth running red with blood. Daius flees, only to take his own life, while the city burns, its temples and markets consumed by flames. Mummius, in a display of Roman severity, orders Corinth sacked, its treasures looted, its people enslaved. The city, once a jewel of Greece, is left a smoldering ruin, a warning to all who defy Rome. The Achaean League collapses, its cities forced to submit to Roman rule. Greece is reorganized into the province of Achaea, its autonomy curtailed, its leaders replaced by pro-Roman elites. Athens and Rhodes, spared for their loyalty, retain some privileges, but the dream of Greek independence fades. Stand now in the ruins of Corinth, where the wind carries the ashes of a fallen city. The agora, once alive with debate, is silent, its statues toppled, its temples desecrated. Across Greece, the realization dawns. Rome is no longer a protector but a master, its legions the final arbiter of fate. Yet even in defeat, Greece's spirit endures. Its culture, its art, philosophy, and literature begins to seep into Rome, carried by captives and scholars. The Achaean defiance, though crushed, plants seeds of influence that will shape the conqueror. As the night cradles you, let us linger on this moment, where the embers of Corinth's fall glow faintly, and a new question rises. How will Greece, subdued but unyielding, transform the empire that binds it? The final chapter of this tale awaits, where conquest gives way to a legacy that will endure beyond the ages. As the night wraps you in its quiet embrace, let us stand once more in the heart of the Peloponnese, where the year is 146 BCE, and the air is heavy with the scent of smoke and sorrow. The Achaean League's defiance, a desperate bid for true independence, has brought Rome's wrath upon Greece. The city of Corinth, the League's proud heart, stands as the final bastion of resistance, its walls gleaming under the summer sun. Lucius Mummius, Rome's unyielding consul, marches with his legions, determined to crush the rebellion and cement Rome's dominion. The fall of Corinth, a moment of fire and ruin, marks the end of Greece's freedom and the dawn of its life under Roman rule. Tonight, let us walk the streets of this doomed city, where the clash of swords and the cries of the defeated weave a somber tale, lulling you into the gentle rhythm of history's turning wheel. Corinth, in 146 BCE, is a jewel of the Greek world. Its isthmus, a narrow bridge between the Peloponnese and mainland Greece, pulses with trade, its markets brimming with goods from Egypt, Asia, and beyond. Temples to Apollo and Aphrodite rise above the agora, their marble columns catching the light, while theaters echo with the verses of poets. The Achaean League, centered here, has rallied its forces, its citizens, merchants, farmers, and artisans, taking up arms alongside hoplites. After the defeat at Scarphia, where their leader Critolaus fell, the Achaeans, now led by Daius, prepare for a final stand. Their army, 14,000 strong, is no match for Rome's 23,000 legionaries, yet pride and desperation fuel their resolve. Corinth's walls, fortified with stone and hope, brace for the storm. Rome's response to the Achaean defiance is swift and merciless. Lucius Mummius, a consul known for his pragmatism, arrives in the Peloponnese with a disciplined army, its maniples honed by years of war. The Romans, fresh from victories over Macedon and Antiochus, are a machine of conquest. Their javelins, short swords, and heavy shields, a stark contrast to the Achaean hoplite spears and bronze armor. Mummius, encamped outside Corinth, sends envoys demanding surrender, but Daius, fiery and unyielding, refuses, rallying the city with speeches of Greek glory. The Achaeans, though outnumbered, believe their walls and spirit can hold against Rome's might. Across Greece, cities watch in dread. Athens and Rhodes, loyal to Rome, remain silent, while smaller towns whisper of resistance or submission. The siege of Corinth begins in the summer of 146 BCE. Picture the scene. The city's walls, towering and thick, stand defiant as Roman siege engines, catapults and battering rams, creak into position. The air is thick with dust and the shouts of soldiers, the ground trembling under the weight of Roman boots. Mummius, methodical and relentless, orders a bombardment, his catapults hurling stones that crack Corinth's defenses. The Achaeans fight back, their archers firing from towers, their citizens hurling rocks from the ramparts. Women and children, caught in the city's fate, carry water to the defenders, their faces etched with fear and defiance. For days, the siege grinds on, the nights lit by the glow of Roman campfires, the days filled with the thud of missiles and the cries of the wounded. The final assault comes swiftly. Mummius, sensing the Achaeans' weakening resolve, orders a breach. Roman legions, their maniples moving like a tide, storm the weakened walls, their javelins clearing the ramparts before they climb with ladders and swords. The Achaeans, exhausted and outnumbered, fight with desperate courage, their hoplites forming a frail line in the streets. Daius, leading from the front, falls in the chaos, his death breaking the defender's spirit. The Romans pour into Corinth, their swords flashing in the sunlight. The battle becomes a slaughter, the city's narrow alleys choked with the fallen. By dusk, Corinth is Rome's, its streets a scene of devastation, its people fleeing or captured. Mummius, in a display of Roman severity, orders Corinth sacked. Imagine the horror. Flames leap from temples, consuming statues of Apollo and Athena. The agora, once alive with debate, is looted, its treasures carted to Roman ships. The city's women and children are enslaved, their cries echoing through the burning streets. Mummius, following the Senate's orders, razes Corinth's walls, leaving the city a smoldering ruin. Its treasures, gold, statues, and paintings, are shipped to Rome, where they will adorn the forums and temples of the Republic. The Achaean League collapses, its cities forced to submit, their leaders replaced by pro-Roman elites. Greece, once a land of free city-states, is reorganized into the Roman province of Achaea, its autonomy a memory. Across Greece, the fall of Corinth sends a chill. Athens, spared for its loyalty, mourns the loss of a sister city, its philosophers debating the cost of Roman freedom. Rhodes and Pergamon, Rome's allies, prosper, but even they feel the weight of Roman dominance. The Aetolians, humbled by past defeats, bow to Rome's will, their rebellious spirit broken. The destruction of Corinth is more than a military defeat. It is a warning, etched in fire and blood, that Rome's patience has limits. The Senate, in its cold pragmatism, has shown that defiance will be met with ruin. Yet, even in this moment of loss, Greece's spirit endures. The captives taken from Corinth, scholars, artists, poets, carry their culture to Rome, where it begins to take root. Greek tutors teach Roman children the works of Homer. Greek statues grace Roman villas. Greek ideas shape Roman thought. The fall of Corinth, though a tragedy, marks the beginning of a new chapter, where Greece's legacy will transform its conqueror. Stand now in the ruins of Corinth, where the wind carries the ashes of a fallen city. The agora is silent, its stones blackened, but the echoes of Greece's voice linger, whispering of a culture that will not fade. As the night cradles you, let us pause on this moment, where the flames of Corinth's fall cast a flickering light on Greece's future. The conquest is complete, but what legacy will this union of Rome and Greece forge? The final chapter awaits, where the conquered begin to shape the conqueror, and a new world rises from the ashes of the old. As the night wraps you in its soothing embrace, let us linger in the quiet ruins of Greece, where the year is 146 BCE, and the echoes of Corinth's fall still whisper through the scorched stones. The Roman conquest of Greece is complete, its city-states, once proud beacons of freedom, now bound to the Republic's will. The Achaean League is shattered, Macedon dismantled, and the province of Achaea rises from the ashes, governed by Roman hands. Yet this is not merely a tale of conquest, but of transformation, where the conquered begin to shape the conqueror. Greece, though subdued, casts a long shadow, its culture weaving into the fabric of Rome, creating a legacy that will endure through the ages. Tonight, let us wander the silent agoras and starlit hills, where the spirit of Greece lives on, lulling you into the gentle rhythm of this final chapter. The Greece of 146 BCE is a land transformed. Athens, spared the fate of Corinth for its loyalty, remains a center of philosophy, its schools of Plato and Aristotle drawing students from across the Mediterranean. Rhodes and Pergamon, Rome's steadfast allies, thrive, their harbors bustling with trade, their wealth a testament to Roman favor. But the Peloponnese, once vibrant with the Achaean League's debates, lies quiet, its cities like Argos and Megalopolis under Roman governors. The destruction of Corinth, its temples and markets reduced to rubble, stands as a grim reminder of Rome's power. The province of Achaea, carved from Greece's heart, is ruled from Patri, where Roman magistrates enforce taxes and laws, their Latin decrees a stark contrast to the Greek tongue. Rome, now a Mediterranean titan, has reshaped Greece to its will. The Senate, pragmatic and relentless, appoints pro-Roman elites to govern cities, ensuring loyalty through patronage and fear. Garrisons remain in strategic strongholds like Chalcis, their presence a silent warning. Yet, Rome's conquest is not merely one of swords and fire. The Republic, once a rustic city on the Tiber, has been captivated by Greece's culture. The treasures looted from Corinth, statues, paintings, and gold, adorn Rome's forums, their beauty sparking awe and envy. Greek tutors, many taken as captives, teach Roman children the works of Homer, Sophocles, and Euclid. Senators, once scornful of Greek decadence, now quote Plato in their speeches, their villas decorated with Hellenistic art. This Hellenization of Rome is a slow but profound tide. Imagine a Roman senator, his toga draped over his shoulder, strolling through the forum, where a statue of Apollo, taken from Corinth, gleams in the sunlight. His son, educated by a Greek philosopher, debates ethics in flawless Greek, while his wife commissions a mosaic inspired by Athenian designs. Greek literature, from the epic Thales of the Iliad to the tragedies of Euripides, finds new life in Latin translations. The Roman poet Aeneas, inspired by Greek models, crafts epics that glorify Rome's past, while architects study Greek temples to build grander structures. Even Roman religion begins to shift, with gods like Apollo and Asclepius adopted alongside Jupiter and Mars, their rituals blending Greek mysticism with Roman solemnity. Yet, this cultural embrace is not without tension. Some Romans, like the stern Cato the Elder, decry the Greek influence, warning that it softens Rome's martial spirit. They see the influx of Greek art and ideas as a threat to the Republic's rugged virtues. But others, like Scipio Aemilianus, the adopted grandson of Scipio Africanus, embrace Hellenism, surrounding themselves with Greek scholars like Polybius, who chronicles Rome's rise with a Greek historian's eye. Polybius, a captive from the Achaean League, becomes a bridge between worlds, his writings explaining Rome to the Greeks and Greece to the Romans. Through him, the story of Rome's conquest becomes a dialogue, a melding of two civilizations. Greece, though conquered, retains a quiet power. Athens, spared destruction, becomes a cultural haven, its schools attracting Romans eager to learn philosophy and rhetoric. The Delphic oracle, though diminished, still draws pilgrims, its cryptic prophecies shaping Roman decisions. Greek festivals, like the Panathenaea, continue under Roman oversight, their processions a reminder of Greece's enduring spirit. Even in defeat, Greece's cities maintain their identity, temples are rebuilt, theaters host plays, and philosophers debate under Roman rule. The Greeks, resilient and adaptable, find ways to preserve their heritage, their voices whispering through the ages. Rome, transformed by its conquest, begins to see itself as the heir to Greece's legacy. The Republic, once a city of farmers and soldiers, now dreams of empire, its ambitions shaped by Greek ideals of universal rule. The conquest of Greece, from Pyrrhus' costly victories to Corinth's fall, has not only expanded Rome's power, but also its soul. The legions that marched through Thessaly and the Peloponnese brought back more than gold. They brought ideas, art, and a vision of a world united under Roman law and Greek culture. This fusion, born in the crucible of conquest, will define the Roman Empire, a civilization that blends Latin discipline with Hellenic brilliance. Stand now in the agora of Athens, where the Parthenon looms under a starlit sky. The city is Roman now, its freedom a shadow of its past, yet its spirit endures. Philosophers teach in the shade of olive trees, their words carried to Rome, where they will shape emperors and poets. The statues looted from Corinth stand in Roman forums, their marble faces gazing into a new era. Greece, though bound, has conquered its conqueror, its culture a flame that will burn through centuries. As the night cradles you, let us reflect on this legacy, where two worlds became one, their union forging a civilization that echoes through time. What dreams arise from this blending of Rome and Greece? How will this new world, born of conquest and culture, shape the ages to come? As you drift toward sleep, let these questions linger, carried on the wings of history, where the past whispers of a future yet unwritten. As the stars guide you toward dreams, and the echoes of Rome and Greece fade into the night, I hope this journey through history has brought you peace and wonder. If you've enjoyed drifting through the ancient world with me, please consider subscribing to my channel for more soothing stories to ease you into sleep. Click that like button if the tale of Corinth's fall or Rome's rise stirred your heart, and share this video with friends who love history or need a gentle nudge toward rest. Leave a comment below. Tell me which moment in Greece's story lingered with you, or what ancient tale you'd like to hear next. Your support keeps these stories alive, so let's continue this journey together. Good night, and until next time, this is Sherry, wishing you sweet dreams.